Deerberg Mountain residents and the City of Coquitlam residents at large, I'm here to talk to you about your rights being violated to the lack of social justice or the lack of application of social justice. I started something about 6 months ago and I'm going to finish it with your help. It will take a whole village of people that cares about their surroundings and their urban forests. So what you're looking at is the three corners of destruction. This is Rosenberg Way, so that forest will be gone. This is Dollar Crescent, this forest will be gone. And the other side of this road, which is Dollar Crescent, this forest will be gone up to Mitchell. The definition of social justice is fair and equitable division of resources, opportunities, and privileges in society. And a subsection of that would be the social ecological system, or fair access to green urban unity, which is not islands of manufactured urban forests, but urban forests that have been left behind in neighborhoods where densification happens and a lot of people live in those areas or plan to live in those areas, and those people have the right to receive the benefits from an urban forest. And there are many facets of how they're going to interact with that forest, whether through just by being a user or helping to keep that urban forest healthy and keeping it a beautiful park. I would like to talk to you about that word park. Since we are living in a state of paternalism, then we do not know a different way, because the state that we live in our mind, is a state where we understand freedom from choice. And freedom from choice is what the state supplies. It supplies their choice and not your choice. So that state merely makes us functionaries of the state. And when it comes to the urban forests, where we would usually choose the mental and physical state that we want, we are given trees down the street on a boulevard and not an urban forest in the middle of a neighborhood. An urban forest that I'm 100% sure that people that live near the urban forest would go there and maintain it, maintain the trails and the deadfall that comes from the sky in the winter, and sweep the trails and make it their own. And the benefits, the health benefits that come from just being near these big trees, there are many benefits. I mean, there's less deaths that are happening if people live 100 feet or 100 meters near on urban forests, and women even have more babies when they're living close to an urban forest. And some may say that that is the American model, to put a corporation number and incorporate a forest, and then you can become a sort of a shareholder, or not a shareholder, but someone that donates to that corporation. They go donate money and to keep that forest going financially, and donate money and go there on the weekend and work your buns off and love what you do and become so mentally and physically healthy that you probably didn't feel that way before. But some say that's the American model, and we can't do that in Canada. And look where we are. So I just wanted to mention that, because we do have the power to take the power back. And this is not to stay in some disillusioned state that the state will just run things, and this is we're talking about living in a different state of mind. Just look at this place. I can stop talking for a minute and you just look around. So imagine walking here after work on a path past these big giants. You can give them a hug and feel the greenery. So I've kept you long enough. So where are we? So this is a forest triangulated by Berg Village Promenade to the north. Northeast is Rockland, and to the west is Dollar Crescent. So we're in a potentially very special location, because this is the last cedar forest on the lower east side, northeast side of Berg Mountain. There are big trees all around, as you can see. Lots of big trees and greenery. Lots of flora, and the fauna, which is the animals, they come here at night and utilize the space every night. This forest that consists of about 92% Western red cedar has untold amounts of bioorganisms, which consists of untold amounts of biodiversity. Western red cedar is highly prized for its wood, and this type of forest doesn't come around every day, and it cannot be created. There's no amount of effort that humans can adhere to over many, many years and billions of dollars to create this type of environment that's naturally created. That's why we should not create urban forests from scratch and spend taxpayers' money on it, we should save these type of places in their present capacity. Can you please check yourself and how you feel now? How you feel now about yourself inside, looking at a construction site, and how you felt inside that forest. So, and I want to talk to you some more about parks. At the corner of Burke Village Promenade and Dollar Crescent is supposed to be light residential. So all this is light residential. All this here. On the other side of this forest, as we stand right here, on the other side of the forest on Rockland, there's a condo complex. There's a condo complex. And there's a condo complex on the other side of the road of Dollar Crescent. The word park again. This park here is just down the street. Down here. We're creating a massive park all the way down Dollar Crescent that is not integrated with a green space. You're going to be looking at trees, but you're going to be in a park. And I want to talk to you about parks because I know this is going to come up in the conversation. And the council speak is there are all kinds of parks. And yes, there are all kinds of parks. Lots of parks on the east side of Burke Mountain are big spaces that are on quite an angle that is not usable. And then there's some features, some concrete features or a swing. Then there is Harper Park. Harper Park is on the top of the mountain with big trees, with not a lot of light. And that space, that green space is not an urban forest. It's at the edge of the mountain. That park is not important to human habitation, everyday habitation. We can thank for the City of Coquitlam to spending the tax dollar to do that for some aspect of living. Densification, townhomes, hundreds of townhomes, potentially thousands of townhomes, need an urban forest beside them for healthy habitation. And that's why you are watching this video. That's why I am here. That's why I started this journey 6 months ago. And that's why 30,000 people on change.org think that those big trees that I walk through need to be preserved for generations to come. There's a thought we can digest briefly, which will be how much money will come out of light residential on the corners of this land here over a year from taxes. How much benefit will that bring to the population of Coquitlam? And what a world-class park this could be. Think about that, and how much benefit could that have, even financially? Because if we put that on as people, not as the City of Coquitlam, as people of Coquitlam, we put this on our business card and people come visit from all over the world, and we can say to them, hey, come walk through paths beside big trees that are actually growing still. And the fact about big trees is that they grow faster the bigger they get. You can check that out. So those people can come here This forest does not have to be cut down in any capacity. This forest can be beautified with trails and used by the everyday residents here and people coming from other places that will not believe that here in Coquitlam, British Columbia, we preserved a forest in the middle of thousands of townhomes. Or we get this: hard surfaces, no drainage, and no forest. That's right, drainage. We have to talk about drainage. So this forest has an aquifer underneath it. And that aquifer is being held by all the roots of these trees. That aquifer is draining from the top of the mountain. Sure, that has been interrupted by Burke Village Promenade and everything else up there. But it's still coming through the underground channels of water into this forest. And when it rains, this spring here fills up with water. And let's say for a minute that some of these trees back here are saved and those trees up there are cut down for townhomes. That will cut off the access to water to these trees. Western red cedar is very sensitive to interruption of water, and all trees work together in a forest to help themselves. We know that. They help through the roots, through the fungal network, through management of branches, delivery of food to each other from the mother nodes. Those are the giant trees, like this one would help the other trees around it. So if you interrupt the water up above, all these trees are going to pay for that. So as I mentioned, Change.org patrons have decided by the 30,000 of them that there's a good idea to save this forest. You can find the petition there at Stop the Destruction of the Last Cedar Forest on Burke Mountain. And this is the last cedar forest on Burke Mountain. You can also go to my YouTube channel, which is Lou's Tools, and you'll see lots of different videos there. And I'm talking to you because I need this whole effort to culminate into a rally at City Hall, where people that care about their well-being and the well-being of the forest will come together and ask the city to place density, population density, somewhere else through either a high-rise or somewhere where there's supposed to be homes, and put those homes into zoning where there is townhomes. We can start a conversation, an actual conversation where there is accountability, where we can show that we care for the environment and an urban forest, So I will keep you posted. There'll be other posts on Facebook. And like I say, this should be a preamble to a further action by the Burke Mountain residents. Everywhere you go, big trees. Big trees are usually valued as a standing wood. They're valued at a certain price. But do we even want to think about a price on a small forest that is not that big and that would bring a ton of benefit? Many different ways to all the people around it. Let's work together on this one. Thank you very much. And sincerely, thank you. I have to thank you because the people that will come out to protect the forest, they have the forest in their heart. And protecting a forest is something that I think most people dream to do. They probably just don't know how. And that's why we need to come together. Maybe there's even a philanthropist out there that would love to buy this piece of land and then just do nothing with it. This is the last cedar forest on Burke Mountain from Rockland. And I want to do the justice to some of the technical aspects of how this has all come about. There was a sign at Dollar Crescent and Burke Village Promenade up there, a rezoning sign. The people that used to live down at the bottom, they all sold their properties to developers. Those people would have lived here for 50 years and they would have cared, but they were gone. So the people that are walking by are the prospective people that would have found out during COVID, when everything was closed, how to go to a first, second, or third reading on a rezoning to a property that's this valuable to making itself the most important piece of land in an urbanized area ever? I doubt it. So they didn't. And that's why this piece of land was rezoned without anyone knowing about it. Let's say we lived in a country where something like this would be advertised through other means like social media or a public TV channel to ask people whether they like to keep this land. It's a very small piece of land. Hey, would you like to have this as a park in your urban area? And if the people said cut it down, fine, but I doubt that they would say that. Instead, on the other side of the road, the city created Fremont Park. Fremont Park is a very steep overgrown, largely densified piece of land that is very mixed forest, and it has lots of dead wood in it. I've bushwhacked right through it, and you can do the same if you'd like. The only good piece of land with big trees there's down on the corner of at the bottom of Rockland there, at the corner down by the beginning of Minnekata, and guess what? All of those trees are going to get cut down for a development. That development basically starts right at the top where we're standing here, and it's going to cut all those trees down all the way down to here. All the good trees are in here. But nevertheless, if you were asked to keep this piece of land that was designated as a park, side note, this park was created with some timeline in mind, because about 3 years ago I know someone that went to talk to the city about Fremont Park because they wanted to create mountain biking trails in there, and they were told 3 years ago that there was a 10-year timeline for this to be retained as this green space, or what do you want to call it, not a park but green space. And so that was the side note that I wanted you to know. And then further on, then, would you want to keep this inhospitable, steep space, or would you like to keep this Western red cedar gem that we have in the middle of an urbanized, densified area that is flat, that can be accessible to all people, and it can be made with trails and handicap trails and bring all those benefits that I talked about to the people around this area. And densified it will be. As you see the cedar forest there, the last cedar forest on Burke Mountain, just below it here is this A3 space, will be townhomes. On the other side of the two creeks there'll be townhomes, and as I mentioned, those decent sized trees on the bottom of this pie-shaped land is all townhomes. All right. So all around this cedar forest here, as you see it from an aerial view now, there'll be townhomes all around it. So that's ever the reason to have an urban forest right in the middle for all to utilize. One last thing to say would be that I would like you to think of this video and your actions from now on to be the onset of the first reading for this property. As this piece of land is in the lands division of the city of Coquitlam right now, as I checked out last week, we as the people need to ask the city in high numbers to redo the zoning process and begin at reading 1, 2, and 3. That would be the only fair thing to do. I'm going to thank everyone so much for their future involvement in this, and I'm going to finish on this positive note where we're going to live beyond the confines of freedom from choice. the creation of these green silos where we cannot enter, all around green spaces and creeks on Berg Mountain. Thank you very much once again.